Shalom Aleichem. The words you have the Sidur are on page 7. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei, Malachei HaMalchim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei, Malachei HaMalchim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom Malachei HaShalom. Shalom Aleichem, 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 Shalom Aleichem. Lechem leShalom. That's spicy. Wonderful, wonderful Latin beat there, isn't that? Right, Steve? Yes. And what a wonderful way for us to bring in Shabbat with such a joyous melody for Shalom Aleichem, welcoming the angels who bring in our day of peace and of rest, the Malachei HaSharet. And wow, we saw history in the making this week, didn't we? The first black woman justice of the Supreme Court has been approved by the Senate, and another door of freedom and equality, I hope you agree, has been opened in our country, bringing us that much closer to the promise of our founding document and the promise upon which our nation is built, that all men and women are created equal and that there should be no boundaries that hold us back. So I think a wonderful, wonderful historic moment for our country, and lots that's going on in the world, and we'll be talking about more of that throughout our service this evening. But let's continue in this joyous mood to bring in Shabbat with a new melody for Mizmor Shir. Sing a song of Shabbat.
It's Psalm 92.
our service continues, it's a pleasure to invite forward Nan and Steve Jacobs to light our candles for Shabbat, and they're lighting in honor of Nan's birthday.
We're on page 8.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu Shabbat Shalom and happy birthday, Nan.
And thank you.
I don't know what the number is, and it doesn't matter. Have a happy birthday. And we wish you continued healing and good health. And our service continues now on page 9 as we invite everyone to rise either physically or in your heart as we join together in the call to worship the Baruch Hu. Please be seated as we join together on page 10 in chanting Via Hafta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'chayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher Adochi v'tzavecha hayom alevanecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hoseiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim L'hiot lachem Elohim
Ani Adonai
Elohechem. Lindy and I have a dear friend who we've known since our college days. His name is Ron Astor, Professor Ron Astor, and he's a brilliant scholar. He's a professor of social welfare at USC. And he's the kind of scholar who not only sits in the ivory tower writing books, he's the kind of scholar who does groundbreaking work in his field that has made a tremendous difference in the world. He works in violence prevention, both for youth and adults. And we know him because he was one of Lindy's classmates at HUC and USC in the double master's program in Jewish communal service and social work, and they were thesis partners. So they worked very closely together. Ron posted something that Lindy called to my attention this week, something that's very powerful, because he's in Israel right now, and I've asked Lindy to share it with us.
I am in Israel and just finished participating in an amazing 3-day think tank workshop with colleagues from around the world researching violence towards educators. It was a stimulating and deep example of how ideas and collaboration can bring understanding, love, and camaraderie to our world. But sadly, last night, there was a terror attack at a restaurant in Tel Aviv in which 3 young innocent people were murdered. Eitam Magini, 27, his childhood friend Tomer Murad, who was 28, and a 35-year-old father of 3, Barak Lopen, who was a former Olympian who represented Israel at the 2008 Beijing and 2012 London Olympic Games. 16 others were injured, with many critically wounded. Eitam was engaged to be married, and his party was supposed to happen that day. The restaurant bar is literally under our hotel room, and we can now see the makeshift memorial site from our window as I write this. You can see the picture of those in the room here. There is never, ever a justification to kill innocent people, not for political, religious, or other purposes. Every rational person should condemn purposeful violent acts aimed randomly at innocents to make a political point. Blowing up movie theaters, airplanes, shooting cafes, schools, or dance clubs should be universally condemned. Israelis' response to this horror is to do exactly the opposite of what the terror intended. The next day, they take to the streets. All the restaurants and cafes are full today. All the malls are packed and cultural events continue. Moms and their kids are out while people pray and gather and light candles to memorialize the victims. Killing innocent people only creates hate and pain in the heart of Israel, Tel Aviv, a liberal demographic of Israel that actually has far more people supporting a Palestinian state. I was happy that Palestinian President Abbas and the PLO condemned both this and last week's violence. Hamas did not. There will never be peace unless terror is abandoned as a political and religious tool. It's not resistance. It's the cold-blooded murder of innocent people. For now, I pray for peace in the region. Only through peace can we find a way for peace in our world. The random killing of people for political purposes anywhere should be condemned loudly and unequivocally without caveats. May the memories of those innocents murdered in the name of politics, religion, hate, racism, and ignorance be a blessing to our world so that we can be unified in eradicating this kind of violence. Ron.
Amen v'amen. And zichronam levracha, may their memories indeed be for a blessing and maybe help to shake us and to bring change. And let us sing now our song of redemption, the one we'll recite at the Seder next week, the one that we pray every day as Jews, a vision of a world redeemed, a world that we are tasked with helping to build. Micha Mocha, on page 11.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. Ve'ha'amideinu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. morning side. Teach us daily wrong from right. Oh, Adonai. Amen. Amen.
Thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night.
And eternity honors a day. And eternity honors a day. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai.
Thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night.
And eternity honors a day. And eternity honors a day. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai,
If you're able, please rise.
Adonai, Sifatai, Sifatai Tiftan, Ufi Agitehi Latecha. Adonai, Sifatai, Sifatai Tiftan, Ufi Agitehi Latecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah Elohei Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'konei Hakol V'zocher Chastei Avot Be'imachot U'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai v'chayei hakol. Ata rav le'hoshia v'chakel chayim v'chesed v'chayei hakol berachamim rabim. Somer noflim v'rofeh olim umatir asurim umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha b'gevurot umido melech melech meimit umechayeh umasmiach Yeshua v'ne'emanata lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai l'chayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. We continue on the top of page 16 with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. V'tov einecha li'arech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam.
I love having the whole congregation as our choir.
This is your addition. Thank you for singing along. Let's pause and take a few quiet moments now for our own individual opportunity to reflect on the week that has passed, to think about our lives and our world, and to offer our own individual prayers. Tfilat Halev, the prayer of the heart.
Thank you, Beth. And now we pray for the peace of Israel. Pray for well-being, O Jerusalem. May all those who love you be at peace. For you are a light that shines upon the world. My heart turns to you to pray for peace. Shalom, shalom, Yerushalayim, Yishlayu, Ohavayich. Shalom, shalom, Yerushalayim, Yishlayu, Ohavayich. Im eshkachech Yerushalayim, Tidbach leshoni lechiki. Im lo a'aleh et Yerushalayim, rosh simchati. Shalom, shalom, Yerushalayim, Yishlayu, Ohavayich. Shalom, shalom, Yerushalayim, Yishlayu, Ohavayich. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom, Yerushalayim, Yishlayu, Ohavayich. Shalom, shalom, Yerushalayim, Yishlayu, Ohavayich.
Thank you to Lindy and to Beth for that soulful, beautiful music, a wonderful Shabbat gift. Beth, was that the piece that you played during the silent meditation? Was that? That was the anthem. Some of you might remember that a few weeks ago I erroneously said that Beth played the Ukrainian national anthem, only to learn after the service from her that that's not what she played. But that beautiful piece that she played during the silent meditation this evening indeed was the Ukrainian national anthem. Thank you. Powerful and beautiful. Manishtana halayla hazeh. Why is this night different from all other nights? It's not just a punchline used by old school Jewish comedians. It's the question that all of us who sit down to our seders in the week ahead are going to be asking. Why is this night different? And between the dipping and the feasting and the 4 cups of wine, we'll be asking and answering a lot of important questions. But I have an interesting Passover question that I'd like to ask you tonight that's not in the Haggadah. A question to get us thinking about Passover. It's a question asked by Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, who was one of the preeminent Jewish scholars of the 20th century. Soloveitchik asked, in a brilliant essay, what happened on the last night the Israelites were in Egypt? Or to be more exact, he asked, what did not happen on the last night that the Israelites were in Egypt? Picture the situation. The masters who had exploited and tortured and humiliated the Israelites for years, for centuries, suddenly found themselves at the mercy of their slaves. what would you expect the slaves to do with their newfound freedom? You would expect them perhaps to take a little revenge, exact a little payback from the ones who had murdered their babies and assaulted their wives and daughters, who had mercilessly beat them for any minor infraction. That certainly would have been understandable. Throughout history, whenever slaves have overthrown their masters, they have usually retaliated with brutality. Ancient Rome twice went through insurrections of slaves against their masters, and in each case, there was a bloodbath. European history knows of the Peasants' Rebellion in medieval Germany and of the Cossack revolt in Ukraine. And the stories about the cruelty of these rebellions are blood-chilling, and I will spare you the details. But did anything like that happen on the night of the Exodus? 600,000 slaves were liberated that night. Did any of them pillage or rape or murder? The Egyptians were in shock, having just endured the 10 plagues. The last one, especially the slaying of the firstborn, hit them hard. As it says in the book of Exodus, there was a great cry throughout the land of Egypt, for there was not a single house where there was not at least one dead. Had the Israelites rioted or pillaged, there were few Egyptians who could have mustered up the will to resist. But nothing of that sort took place. Not one Egyptian was attacked, at least that we know of. Not one Egyptian house was destroyed, nor one police station or military post pillaged. Instead, as the Torah recounts, the Israelites stayed in their homes, eating the Paschal lamb and reciting words of psalms. They were praying and giving thanks. What happened on that night, or to be exact, what did not happen that night, is unique in the history of revolutions. So why did they do it? Or to be exact, why did they not do it? This is the question Rabbi Soloveitchik raises, and his answer is, if they had done that, understandable as it would have been, they would have still been enslaved. They would have been enslaved to their previous life, still enslaved to their taskmasters by a bond of hatred. By ignoring them, however, by focusing on the Paschal lamb instead, that night, they became truly free humans. No one would have blamed them had the Israelites engaged in acts of vandalism that night, had they killed at least a few of the monsters who had thrown their babies into the Nile. But instead, the Israelites said no. They said no to their innermost impulses. They said no to the desire for revenge. And it was precisely by mastering themselves that they became free. Now, I'm not sure if this is really what happened on the night before the Exodus. All we know is what the Torah says. But I think that Rabbi Soloveitchik's teaching and the way that he imagined it offers a profound lesson that is as relevant to us today as it was in ancient times. Freedom, true freedom, is not just something that is bestowed upon us. It is something that we must sometimes find within ourselves. And we can't find it if we are forever shackled to the grievances of the past. A story from a rabbinic colleague, Rabbi Harold Kushner, makes this point in a very powerful way. Rabbi Kushner recounts that a woman came to him one day for counseling, who spent the better part of an hour telling him all about her derelict ex-husband, who, in her words, ruined her life. She told him how stingy he had always been to their children, how selfish and manipulative he had always been with her. And she went on and on, telling the rabbi about every atrocity that he was guilty of, both during their marriage and since their divorce. Rabbi Kushner listened to her lament as patiently as he could, even though he heard the majority of these details many times before. And when she finally finished, he said to her gently, "Don't you see how harmful this endless wallowing in what he did to you is? Don't you see that he is out there somewhere having a good time with his new trophy wife, while you are still here, still fixated on what he did to you years ago? And don't you understand that you never really will be free of him until you let him go? Until you put whatever he did to you behind you, and until you learn to have a new life without him." When I think of that story, Rabbi Solzhenitsyn's insight into the night before the Exodus makes perfect sense. This was the night when they were supposed to go out of Egypt, but they could not leave Egypt behind if they continued to brood and fester over what was done to them. They had to leave Egypt with its heartache and injustice and misery behind them if they were to go forward and create a new life for themselves. That essentially is what our people did after the Holocaust. They could have burned up half of Europe, and no one would have blamed them if they had. But if they had, what would they have done for an encore? And how would they have helped them rebuild their lives? Instead, what they did when they came out of the concentration camps, these broken and shattered people, is to find mates and to marry and to bring new children into the world. What they did was to make their way to America and to Israel and begin their lives over again. And by doing this, they became truly free human beings. I believe that the powerful post from our friend Ron that Lindy shared earlier, and how it describes Israel's response to the terrorist violence, is a current day example of exactly what I'm saying. You do occasionally hear of revenge attacks at the hands of ultra-nationalist Israelis in the territories who destroy property or attack innocent Palestinians after terrorist incidents. But they do not represent the overwhelming response of the majority of Israelis who mourn every loss, but then pick themselves up and continue building their state and living out their lives to their fullest. We saw that in those pictures. In spite of all the heartache and pain and loss that Israelis have endured, they hang on steadfastly to the words of Hatikva that remind them of why they are there. Lihiyot am chofshi be'artzenu, to be a free people in our own land. Who here amongst us has not faced heartache and disappointment in life, often from friends and those we love the most? And who among us has not endured mistreatment or injustice at the hands of others? All of us have had our personal Egypts, with no exceptions. But you know, the choice is ours. We can do what the slaves did when they overthrew Rome, and the mob did when they overthrew France, and the Cossacks did when they threw off their shackles and conquered Ukraine. Or we can do what the Israelites did on the night they left Egypt. We can spend our lives festering in anger for something that happened in the past, or we can leave the wrongs that were done to us in the past, where they belong, and we can go forward to a new life. I don't know who it was that said living well is the best revenge. But I think that the Israelites who left Egypt would have understood that line, and they would have agreed with it. And I hope that that woman who Rabbi Kushner counseled eventually came to understand this same truth. And I hope that all of us who have been mistreated by others at some time in our lives will learn to appreciate this truth as well. Like the Israelites on the last night in Egypt, let us choose to let the past be past and to let us go forward as best we can, unencumbered. Let our Pesach celebration truly be a festival of freedom. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be God's will. Amen.
Yasher Korah.
Todah Rabbah.
We continue on page 20
As we rise for Seder Kriyat Torah, special service for the reading of Torah. Ki mitzion teisei Torah, ki mitzion teisei Torah, udevar Adonai mirushalayim, baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato. Beit Yaakov lechuvanelcha be'or Adonai, O house of Jacob, come, let us walk in the light of our God. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. I forgot to put on my guitar and start singing. Romevu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachatu le'hakadoshah. Romevu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachatu le'hakadoshah. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romevu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romevu. Romevu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachatu le'hakadoshah. Romevu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachatu le'hakadoshah. Please be seated. I failed to mention that this Shabbat is actually a special Shabbat. one of those Shabbatot that has a special name. It is, anyone besides Karma? Shabbat HaGadol, which means the great, or the big Sabbath, which is the Shabbat every year that precedes the beginning of Pesach. And since next Friday at sundown, we are right into the Chag, it's the beginning of Pesach, this is Shabbat HaGadol this night. In many Orthodox congregations, this was actually the only Sabbath where the rabbi delivered a sermon.
A long sermon.
And it was a long sermon that often went into the details of the observances of Pesach, reminding everyone about the chametz and about all of that. So I actually have a couple more sermons teed up that I just want to practice with you. Oh, I'm kidding.
House cleaning tips?
Right. Our Torah portion this week is in some ways a continuation of last week. Many years it's actually a double portion that's combined, Tazria, Mitzorah, and the themes kind of carry over from one to the next. It's actually a Torah portion written for dermatologists because it's all about skin diseases. Oh, it's more than that. But so we're going to read from Mitzorah. Carm, which wonderful part of skin diseases did you choose?
Well, I wanted to say before I forget that thanks to Andrew and Emily Ellis, our Chumashim, our Torah commentaries, have made it back into the sanctuary.
Yay.
So, yay. Thank you, Marianne, for reminding us to do that. So if you want to follow along, we'll be on page 842, and I'm going to start at sentence 21, which in the Hebrew is sentence Chaf Aleph. So, I always forget about this. And actually, so in tonight's Torah portion, we start to read about the rituals that take place once we are healed. So, and it's a really kind of lovely...
I shouldn't be so cavalier. There are a lot of wonderful lessons in these portions.
And it's a really lovely section because there's a whole ritual. You have to bring offerings to the temple, and the offering they suggest you bring is this really big, expensive offering. And immediately after it talks about, well, but if you don't have enough for that, you can bring this. And if you don't have enough for that, you can bring this. And so it's a really lovely sentiment in that we all give in accordance with our means and that all of us can fully participate. And finances don't have to be a barrier to Jewish life. So,
And that we welcome people into the community or back into the community, as it were.
yeah.
So we're on page 22 for a communal aliyah.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Ve'im dalhu ve'en yado maseget ve'lakach keves echad asam litnufa lechaper alav ve'isaron solet echad balul bashemen lemincha velog shamen ushtei torim O shnei v'nei Yonah asher tasig yado והיה האחד חטאת, והאחד עולה. והביא אותם ביום השמיני לתורתו אל הכהן, אל פתח אוהל מועד לפני אדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher koach.
Yasher kochechem.
Beautiful chanting. And in the presence of our Sefer Torah, we say special blessings for those who are ailing, not just from skin diseases, although they can be awful. I got my shingles vaccine, the second one, just last week. But all our friends and family members who are ailing and who need our help and our support, our loving care, our calls and visits, and our prayers for a refuah shlema, for a full and speedy healing. Those who are at home joining us on the live stream, we invite you to send the names of your friends and family who you'd like to add to the list so we can read their names from the Bima. And on our list this week, we have Casey Campbell-Shatman, Diane Dakin, Randy Watkins, Gabby Lopez-Smith, Rebecca Williams, Victor Altman, Rose Machado, John Kaplan, Barry Klein, Ellen Clore, Jonathan Kelly, Thomas Boggs, Louise Riddle-Kaufman, Nan Jacobs, Carol Hogue, Diane Smith, Robert Kurtzer, Rachel Frederick, Brooke Hall, and Evelyn Young. And I invite anyone here who would like to add some names to please do so.
Gordon Williams. Brett Hendren, Lisa Rampolia, Don Cordano, Birdie, Patience and Destiny Sullivan, Bob Gelb, Desi Greenstreet, Avi Hendren.
And of course, we add to the names mentioned aloud all of us here who are in need of these same blessings of Refuat HaNefesh and Refuat HaGuf for healing of mind and body and spirit.
I'd like to add Louis Roth, Sue Price, Sue Rose, and Jake Walker. Bishop Roth is on page 23.
Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, O God, who heals the sick.
Amen. We continue with a prayer for our country and the state of Israel. Guardian of life and liberty, grant blessings to our country. Grant our leaders patience and wisdom. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and may we never be lazy in the work of peace.
Eternal God, grant blessings to the state of Israel. Protect your people, shelter them with peace, and grant them deliverance from the violence that surrounds them. May they live in harmony with one another and with their neighbors. May the bonds of faith and faith that unite the Jews of all lands be a source of strength and blessing to each of us and to all the world. And let us say, Amen. We continue on page 24, and those who are able, I ask you to please rise.
Vezot Torah
Asher Sam Moshe Livnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai Beyad Moshe.
Al Shlosha Devarim
Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Haolam Omeid Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Haolam Omeid Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim.
Continue on the top of page 25, reminding us what the ending prayers of our service are about.
It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we were free to do. For what's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. We are carrying the stories of the ones who came before. Stories will be told of us when we are here no more. We commit ourselves to action. It brings meaning to our days. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to own the vision. We are an answer to a call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down deeply. There's a broken world to raise. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu l'shabeach
L'Adon HaKol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי
we take a quiet and reverent moment to remember and to pay honor to the memory of our loved ones who are no longer with us physically, but who we carry in our hearts. And their memories are embedded in our hearts and memories and continue, therefore, to carry us. Is there anyone present who is in the period of either Shiva or Shloshim or Shana? We invite those of you joining us from home to share those names with us in the chat so we can bring them and share them from the Bima. Or if you think you have a Yortzeit who we don't have on our list. Is anyone here in Shloshim or Shana? The following are the names of those who have a Yortzeit sometime in the week ahead.
Actually, in the 2 weeks ahead, right?
I'm getting signals from around the room. Because we don't have a service next Friday night, because it's Pesach, and we'll all hopefully be at a Seder, we're reading the Yortzeit list from both this Shabbat and next Shabbat. Bertha Davidescu. And if I say the name of your loved one, won't you please stand? Paul Cashin, Martha Forbes, Gerald Meyer, Robert Oppenheimer, Henry Epstein, Miriam Goldberg, Barbara Hathaway Jones, Anna Blatt, Bessie Lefkowitz, Bernice Porres, Samuel Block, Anne Hirschfield, Helen Smith, Sarah Cutler, Arthur Seligman, Milton Greenblatt, Aristao Vasquera, Sylvia Hartnick, Dr. Milton Tyler, Morris Berg, Bess Cooper, Herbert Binowitz, Joan Samuels, Manuel Goldman, Leah Slatkin, Buzz Chain, Clara Epstein, Carol Haas, Marcy Wardlaw, Mary Landau, Leon Platt, Samuel Zatz, Samuel Corin, Ann W. Sanders, excuse me, Nathan Bush, Bessie Joseph, Pablo Carmona Cruz, Jean Lindner, Auriello Zapian, Arnold Sims, Eva Massover, and Joseph Kohan.
Herm Lewin, Joey Robinow, Helen Schneider, Betty Myers, Laura Lee Southern, Gail Weiss, and Milton Hyman.
Zichronam Livracha, may all their memories be for a blessing and a never-ending source of strength. And we hold in our hearts those who have died from COVID-19, and we remember as well the 6 million who died in the Holocaust, so many leaving no one to remember them. We take them all into our hearts along with our own loved ones who have died as we turn to page 26 and rise as we join together in Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon, u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, u'bizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lomei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha berichu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yalma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mermav, hu yasei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all the bereaved among us, and let us say, Amen. Please be seated.
Thank you, Nan and Steve, for lighting the candles, and happy birthday again, Nan. And thank you, Beth, for your gorgeous music this evening. We really appreciate it. Karma, chanting beautifully as usual. Thank you so much for that honor. And thank you, Ari, for keeping us on live stream. Everyone know on live stream, thank Ari. Happy birthday this week and next week to Josh Goldman, David Hoffman, Dave Long, Julia Lopez, Nita Roberts, Leslie Weiss, Tina Vasquez, Cassie Cruz Vasquez today, Nan Jacobs, Marlene Juliana, Laura Lipner, and Joanne Abala. I'm sure there are others. You can put them in the chat or say them out loud. Passover begins next Friday night. As many of us will be hosting or attending service seders, that's what Jason already said. We won't be having a communal Shabbat service, but we'll be back the following week, April 22nd. Come and make sour cream chocolate chip coffee cake, my personal favorite, with Emily Ripken and Ann Colbert this Sunday. Come anytime between 9 and 3. Come for a few hours or stay all day. Our vendors have allowed us to extend the deadline on a few select food fair items. So you can still order bagels, breads, brunches, corned beef, and lox up until the end of this month, April 30th. If you've
Or
already,
anything else with a B.
no, not anything else.
Bagels,
Blintzes
bread.
are not, no. If you've already placed an order, no problem, just go online and place a second order. We'll take care of it. And thank you all for your support, and tell your friends, if they loved our brunches for food fair, they can still order. And we're closing tonight with Oseh Shalom on page 27.
Shalom bimroma, uyase, shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, uyase, shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, uyase, shalom aleinu. Yase shalom, yase shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Le'achol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Le'achol Yisrael. Oseh Shalom b'mroma, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mroma, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mroma, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Le'achol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Le'achol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Le'achol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Le'achol Yisrael.
And Deborah Blinder made us a beautiful
Oh,
challah.
gorgeous challah. Thank you.
Smells very good.
Okay.
Ooh,
First the
looks pretty.
Kiddush.
Okay, we can do Kiddush first, but I'm smelling this challah. All right, I'll cover it so it doesn't get embarrassed. There we go. That is a teaching.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim.
You have to tell the teaching now because we put it out there. I put it out there.
So, why do we cover the challah? Because it's blessed last. Think about it. Every Friday, we begin with the candles, and then we bless the wine. And in many homes, we bless our children and our spouses. And all through that, the lonely challah is waiting. And it's embarrassed that we make the challah wait. So we cover the challah so we don't see it blushing. This is what's known as a baba maisa, a wives' tale, but it has an important teaching, which is, if we would be concerned for the feelings of a mere loaf of bread, how much the more so we should be concerned for the feelings of our fellow human beings. There you have it.
Thank you.
And now,
Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
On Shalosh, let's say Shabbat Shalom to all our folks at home.
Echad, shtayim, shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Mwah.
Have a wonderful